Hello, I'm Michael Marsh. Welcome to the program dedicated to reestablishing constitutional government, first here in Oregon and then in the United States. In order to have a constitutional government, we need people in office that actually agree with the Constitution. Most Democrats haven't even read it. There's a few that have, and a lot of Republicans, I suspect, haven't either. But there are at least more Republicans that are constitutional than Democrats. And that brings me to today's guest, who is Mark Callahah, who is running for Congressional 5 here in Oregon. And of course, every now and then, my co-host will pop up. That's Camo. And so, Mark, why are you running for Congress in the first district?
We did really well last time against the 35-year career politician in New York we know as Ron Wyden here in Oregon. I was in the general election in 2016, got about 651,000 votes statewide, and I'm just not the type of person to give up. And I got a couple daughters here in Salem myself, and I figured I took a look at my numbers as in Congressional District 5 as a subset of the statewide numbers I got in 2016 general election. And when looking at my numbers, comparing them with the previous Republican, the Rancombe Willis, as well as Kurt Schrader's numbers, I think we can get this done. We're within a few thousand of winning. So that's why I'm running, and that and many other reasons. I need to get back there. I need to help our President Trump get the job done, because he seems to be facing some opposition back there, and in terms of his ability to drain the swamp. And I want to get back there and help him, and basically fight back the opposition.
Now, it's a pretty good assumption that if the Democrats get back into power, the first thing they're going to do is try to impeach.
Yeah, it's sad that they still continue to this day, 1 year later, they continue to be sore losers. And it's unfortunate because you didn't actually see all this resistance movement that they have going on nationwide, especially in the Portland area. But in terms of when Obama got elected 8, 9 years ago, and it's like they continue to be sore losers. And they just need to face the fact that, yes, Trump got elected. And because Americans were sick and tired of being sick and tired of the liberal propaganda that was being pushed down on them, that they were basically being force-fed. And Americans, we as Americans, are freedom-loving Americans that love our country and our Constitution. I carry a Constitution with me myself. We love our country, we love our Constitution, and we were just tired of the liberal propaganda being pushed on us. And so we voted and elected Trump. And the side that voted and wanted Hillary for their president, I think she belongs in prison myself. But
yeah.
Basically, they just need to deal with the fact that Trump won, and so we can get our country on the right path to economic prosperity and freedom, and more importantly, being a leader in the world again.
Which brings us to a trust issue, and the Democrats have been exposed for cooperating with the FBI to try to stage a House coup.
Yep.
And it kind of brings into question a lot of these bills that were passed after 9/11, like the FISA courts. And
I heard about the FISA memo that just came out here this last week, and I heard the other side has their own memo that they want Trump to sign off on and declassify this week. And I mean, what happened with the whole FISA memo? I mean, I was for the release of the FISA memo myself, and so what happened with that basically explains what happened in terms of government being weaponized against the people. Yeah. I mean, you had President Trump that was running for office, and if our own government can weaponize itself and use the agencies such as the DOJ and the FBI and other organizations, which there's great people that work for those organizations. I'm not classifying everyone into one bucket, But what I'm saying is that there's corruption in some of those organizations that allowed the government to be weaponized against a candidate. And so when we found out about that with the release of the memo last week, it's just bad. I mean, it's just really, really bad, because our government should not be weaponized against someone that wants to run for office and eventually won and beat the system basically from being rigged against him.
So, do you have any recommendations for how to deal with that problem?
Well, transparency is actually the key to dealing with the problem. You got to let the sunshine in. And there was a "Let the sunshine in, let the sunshine in." I think it's like a elementary school song or a church song I used to sing. But I mean, sunshine is the most important, and transparency is the most important. For example, I filed my FEC reports with the FEC. Basically, I'm being very transparent in terms of who I get donations from, and I don't have all that much money, and donations are always welcome. But I believe in transparency because I want to be straight and forward with people, and that's why I file the FEC reports that I do. There's some other candidates out there that haven't quite got to that point yet, but I'm sure they will. But I just believe in transparency myself, and I'm going to take that mindset to government as well, in terms of being transparent, letting the sun shine in, basically, and just getting in there and helping our President Trump.
What kind of, how do we start holding these people accountable?
Well, if they work for a government organization and they've done corrupt stuff and they've done bad stuff that is contrary to the mission, to the freedom of our country, they need to be fired. Trump actually did a pretty good job of that when he was on The Apprentice, with the keywords "you're fired," and I guess that's his trademark. But basically, you can't be afraid in government. We can't live in fear as Americans, and that goes whether you're elected to office, you're not elected to office. And as long as he's not afraid, which I don't think he is. I mean, he is one brave guy. He knows what he's doing. I think we need to get in there and we need to start firing folks. We need to start draining the swamp, and we need to get people in there that are not corruptible, people in there that hold to the values of honor and integrity and character, and people that are God-fearing as well, and hold to the values that our Lord Jesus taught us as well.
So, is the civil service laws going to have to be changed?
Civil service laws in terms of
because I'm not really sure, because, I mean, I've been watching for years and I've been wondering, why isn't that person fired or go to jail even?
Yeah, well, I think it has a lot to do with the collective bargaining agreements with the government and employee unions. I mean, I guess once they're in there, it's like a tick you can't get rid of or something like that. So I think we're going to have to do some negotiating, I guess, with them, because if you're going to be doing bad stuff in the government that's contrary to the country, contrary to the freedom of the country and what the United States stands for, and almost to the point of treason, then you need to be fired, and you need to be locked up, and you need to be prosecuted first. We believe in due process here, obviously, according to the Constitution. Due process, and then if found guilty, then you got to pay the punishment. So,
now, the first thing you're going to do if you win and you get back to Washington, they're going to have you raise your hand and swear to uphold the Constitution.
Yep.
And here in Oregon, we'll probably, most likely, on the November ballot, have a measure sent to us by the legislature called the National Popular Vote, which is an attempt to get around the electoral vote. So, where do you stand on trying to weasel out of constitutional amendments like that?
Well, that's just I mean, you used the perfect word for it, is weaseling. Basically, I believe in the foundations of our country, and as I said, our electoral college is defined in this. Mine's kind of worn here. I've kind of taped it up a little bit in terms of, and it's coming apart a little bit, but there's been people over the years that have seen, oh, Mark, we need to get you a new one, and I got a whole box of new ones at home, but I like my original one here, and the Electoral College, it was put in our Constitution for a reason. And yes, it is how Trump won the presidency. But it was put in our Constitution for a reason. And the national popular vote, I'm against that myself because it's contrary to our U.S. Constitution. A lot of the liberals out there, they think that the Constitution is some sort of living document. Well, no, it's not a living document. It's supposed to be based on the original intent of the document. And the national popular vote, I actually testified in the Oregon legislature a couple years ago against the national popular vote. And I know the senator, I believe his name is Courtney, stopped it up to this point, but then he's going to, I guess, put it forward as long as it's put to a vote of the people. But I'm still stand against the national popular vote. I'm for the Electoral College because, as I said, it's what was originally written in our Constitution, and that's what we need to hold up to.
Yeah, and it gives small states like Oregon a voice in the presidential election.
Yeah,
which we wouldn't have otherwise. Now, and it is why Trump won, because Hillary ignored too many small states.
Exactly, exactly. I think it was Michigan and Wisconsin that pretty much put him over the top. So
yeah.
But I mean, you'll hear the people out, she won the popular vote. Well, that's not how we do things. We do things based on the Electoral College. And as I said, I support the Electoral College myself, and I think that's what we should keep in place.
And in 2020, whoever the Democratic nominee is, they will not ignore Wisconsin.
Exactly.
They will not ignore Michigan.
Exactly. I mean, I know that Trump actually came here to Oregon. He did go down to Eugene when he was running for office. And some of the other presidential candidates didn't come here to Oregon, but I know he came to Oregon, and it was great. Yeah, we should definitely keep the Electoral College in place.
Yeah, good. Now, the same people that want to get rid of the Electoral College would like to get rid of a lot of other parts of the Constitution, starting with our Second Amendment.
Yeah.
Where do you stand on the Second Amendment?
I'm pro Second Amendment. I strongly support the Second Amendment myself. Right to keep and bear arms is a basic right. You have to be able to defend yourself. Shall not be infringed means shall not be infringed, period. And I'm very clear about that. I've actually been rated by the NRA in the last election with an AQ rating, and so I filled out their survey here recently, and I believe strongly in the Second Amendment, and I believe in the fact that we need to have national reciprocity in terms of being able to carry across state lines, and almost to the point of constitutional carry. Not a lot of people are familiar with that, but
well, explain it then.
Well, I'm still kind of researching it myself,
okay.
But we need to be able to not be restricted in being able to bear firearms. And I know there's people out there that they scare people. I mean, they're fear mongers. We have to do this and this and this to restrict gun rights. And I just don't think gun rights should be restricted. I mean, if you're a responsible individual, and everyone as a responsible individual and a American citizen, you have the right to keep and bear arms, period. And there shouldn't be restrictions in terms of or roadblocks put in the way to be able to keep and bear arms.
Okay, one of the issues that will probably be on taxpayer funding for abortion. Mm-hmm. At the national level, there's been discussion about whether or not Planned Parenthood should receive federal dollars.
Yeah.
How would you vote on that?
I'd vote against Planned Parenthood receiving federal dollars. And the reason I say this is this, because abortion is murder, period, in my opinion. And a lot of other people's opinion, too. And I look at how many babies have been killed since 1973 when Roe versus Wade came down, and Dole versus Bolton as well. And it's murder straight up. and I think the number is like 60 million babies. The other side will try to play it off and say, oh, no, they're not babies, they're just groups of cells. No, they are babies, because when life begins at conception, that's just what it is. It is life beginning at conception. And as I said, the other side tries to dismiss it and degrade it and demote it as being something less than life. It's not less than life. It is life begins at conception, period. And so if ever an abortion bill came up, I am pro-life myself. And so I would vote against Planned Parenthood receiving federal funds. Unfortunately, my opponent in the general election, both in this last time, Ron Wyden, our 35-year career politician, New Yorker, as well as my potential opponent in the general election this time, Kurt Schrader, are funded by Planned Parenthood. They're funded by NARAL. And it's very sad that they take that mindset, because they don't see what life is, and they don't see the importance of life. Life is very important, and you can't deny someone life, because if you're denying someone life, who knows how that baby would grow up to actually be? They could be the next great artist. Yeah. They could be the next great poet. They could be the next great person that discovers the cure for AIDS or cancer or something like that. Yet the other side wants to extinguish that life prior to even being born, when it is a life and it begins at conception, period. So.
Okay. They recently passed a tax bill. Did they go far enough? Not far? Too far? Just right?
Are you talking about the tax reform and tax cut bill that all the Democrats, including my potential general election opponent, Kurt Schrader, voted against? Yeah. And that people are going to get what Nancy Pelosi refers to as crumbs.
Give me some crumbs.
Yeah, exactly. I'd like to have those $2,000 or $3,000 crumbs myself. Yeah. So it just shows how out of touch both Pelosi as well as my opponent in the general election, the incumbent, is out. They're out of touch. They get back there to Washington D.C. They get infected by the swamp, and it's like they get infected by this bubble that is just this giant swamp. And basically, I'm for the tax reform and the tax cuts that passed, and because I know I'm going to see more money in my paycheck. Yes, I do work a day job right now, and I'm going to see more money in my paycheck, hopefully, and my wife's going to see more money in her paycheck, as well as millions of Americans across the country are going to see more money in their paycheck. I think that in terms of going a little bit further, I would like to make the individual tax cuts permanent. Yeah. But this is a good starting point in terms of tax reform. We haven't done tax reform in about 30 years, and so this is a good starting point. And I would have supported the tax reform bill had I been in Congress at that time.
Immigration is a hot issue. It's going to, hopefully, will be on the ballot here. Here in Oregon, have a sanctuary state law, which is being misused very much.
Oh yeah,
and at the federal level, they're talking about the DACA. Now, if it hasn't been settled by the time you get in, and I don't think the Democrats really want it solved, the problem solved.
Oh no, they don't want it solved. I mean, Trump, he wrote a book called Art of the Deal, and he's been giving them deals, and they've been rejecting everything, and pretty soon they're just going to continue to reject. This is the Democrat side. They're just going to continue to reject and reject and reject because they hate Trump so much. They are so driven by hate. And it's just, I mean, I know the Lord teaches me, and the Lord teaches all of us to live a life of love, live a life to have love in your heart. And when you have hate in your heart, then you can't get anything done. So Trump's been giving them deals, and they've been rejecting the deals, and they've been kind of stomping their feet, and being stubborn and obstinate and stuff like this. And I know where I stand on immigration. I think if you're going to be in this country, you need to be in this country legally. I'm personally on the board for Oregonians for Immigration Reform. Right now we have a petition that we're trying to get signatures for referred to as IP-22, to basically remove Oregon from being a sanctuary state. And basically, we're out trying to get signatures at fairs and sportsman shows and stuff like that, you know. But if you're going to be in this country, you're going to be in this country legally, not illegally. You literally break into our country and break our laws if you're here illegally. And I don't believe in amnesty. I say no to amnesty. I say no to DACA because DACA was illegal in the first place. Even the prior president, former President Obama, said DACA is not constitutional. You know, it's an executive order, executive action that you can't just make up laws and then pass them yourself. And even the former president knew that. You know, and so when Trump said, "Yeah, this is going to end on March 5th," and it's going to end on March 5th if the Democrats on the other side or the liberals don't come up with something, you know. But basically, Trump's just trying to right the system, basically, and say, yeah, this is not legal in the first place, you know, so it shouldn't even be there. So
how would you solve this if you were having a vote?
Well, it would be, I said, I'd say I wouldn't give them amnesty, and I certainly wouldn't give them a green card or anything like that, you know, which would allow other things like a driver's license, which Oregonians voted unanimously, almost overwhelmingly against this in the 2000, I believe it was 2014 or 2012 or something like that.
Yeah.
But Measure 88 is what it was. Oregonians voted 66% in about 35 counties against Measure 88. I was involved in that myself in terms of the no campaign. But basically, in terms of fixing it, they need to go home. They need to go back to their country. And they need to come in the right way. And that's what our current laws are. And there's no free ride. There's no free lunch here in America. You know, we need to, I was always taught when I was growing up that you work for what you get because you value it more. If we start giving free handouts instead of hand-ups, then people are going to realize, you know, oh, we can just come to America and get a bunch of free stuff. No, you don't come to America to get a bunch of free stuff and basically milk the social services system dry and basically put our country more and more into debt. We need to start righting the ship, and we need to start getting our country back on the right track, and that begins with people actually following the laws in terms of our immigration laws.
I see my,
It's like you got your co-host there, huh?
Yeah, my co-host.
Yep.
Yeah. I had something on my mind that I was going to ask you, of course. So what happens if okay, would you support the border wall?
Yes.
Concept?
We definitely need to have a strong border security. We need to increase border security. So I am for supporting the border wall.
And what about chain migration?
Chain migration needs to be stopped. Basically, when you have chain migration, you just get more and more and more people, aunts, relatives, first, second, third levels of family in, and there needs to be some sort of control on that because even if, and then the whole illegal immigrant or illegal alien is actually the technically legal term for it. Coming in, they want to get their family here. You know, well, you're here illegally in the first place.
Yeah.
Shouldn't be able to bring anybody in. But I'm against chain migration. I am for the border wall.
Yeah. Speaking about the free education, and the Supreme Court, U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that they have a right to be educated in our schools, at least elementary and high school. And right now, you know, with Trump and Betsy DeVos, they believe in school choice. But if the Democrats get back in charge, free choice, that's gone.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically it's one endless cycle because you have public schools which are run by the unions, and the unions fund the Democrats. And so it's just one big cycle So basically, the Democrats basically try to keep the unions in power, public employee unions in power, and then they, in turn, have the schools, and then the Democrats can push their propaganda, liberal propaganda, through the schools and through the unions, who in turn fund the Democrats to get back into office. And I believe in school choice myself. I believe in homeschooling. I believe in charter schools. And I believe that education should be a parent's choice. It should be ultimately a choice. The parent has control, and the parent should have the choice on how they want their kid educated. I said I have 2 daughters myself here in school, and one's in high school, freshman high school, and then one's in middle school. And if I didn't have to work during the day, I'd gladly homeschool my kids.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I have to work during the day, and then they come with me. They used to come with me on the campaign trail, and
Yeah,
they do homework from their schoolwork now, but being they're a little older. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately a parent's choice in terms of being able to educate their kids, and they should have options to be able to do that.
Should the federal government be involved in education? Should there be a Department of Education?
I don't think the federal government should be involved in education personally, and I know that there are liberals out there. Oh, he wants to burn down the Department of Education. Well, I don't want to burn it down. I just want to basically get the federal government out of it. I mean, as I look at my Constitution here, and I've studied it, and I'm just not seeing anything in the Constitution that describes the federal government being involved in education. And so education should be something on the local level. Yeah. It should be local control at the local level, not a federal overreach. And when you have things like Common Core being put through our education system,
hey, you.
I guess Camo doesn't like Common Core either. So.
Yeah,
but
trying to weigh in on that.
I don't like Common Core myself. But yeah, there. Don't like Common Core, huh? Yeah.
Nope.
But I mean, we don't need things pushed down from the federal level in terms of education. We need to have local control in education. So
I told you she was my co-host.
Oh yeah, and she doesn't like Common Core. Neither do I. So
okay, we got a little over a minute. So
okay,
tell us anything you haven't told us or remind people.
Well,
come here. Come here.
Well, my campaign website is at CallahhanForOregon.com. That's CallahhanForOregon.com, CallahhanForOregon.com. I'm also on Twitter at Callahhan, the number 4, and then the word Oregon, C-A-L-L-A-H. I'm sorry.
Sorry.
C-A-L-L-A-H-A-N, the number 4, and then O-R-E-G-O-N on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter. I'm always looking for followers on Twitter. And then also on Facebook, my Facebook page is facebook.com/Callahhan, the word Callahhan for Oregon with 4 spelled out F-O-R, so CallahhanForOregon. CallahhanForOregon.com, running for Congress in Oregon's 5th Congressional District.
Okay, thanks for coming.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Yeah.
And
thank you.
I think she was telling you that she supports what you're doing.
Yeah, I just need to get her endorsement. So,
yeah. Hey, you. Okay.